All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about shop tools and some of the stuff that we use around our shop to accomplish our daily and weekly tasks. So what we have here is probably the cornerstone of our operation. This is our 5 foot by 5 foot LDR motion system brand CNC plasma table. This table is paired with a Hypertherm PowerMax 85 plasma cutter. This table is a water bladder style table, and what that means is there is a false floor that is welded in this with a lip that is broke down on this front side that reaches almost to the bottom of the main tray. This is filled with water. Then you simply use compressed air into the bladder to raise up the water level in the table for cutting. What that is important for is cutting thinner material. It helps with heat distortion and warpage, as well as it cuts down on the smoke emitted from cutting metals. This table is, like I said, 5 foot by 5 foot, but it will actually cut about 66 inches long, which comes in very handy for us because some of the products that we make that we have to cut are pretty close to that 66-inch mark. This table uses stepper motors with a belt drive gear reduction and a rack and pinion style final drive. This table is also equipped with torch height control, and what that is a add-on that connects into the back of your plasma cutter to read a feedback voltage from the cutter while it's cutting to control your height off of your material. And that is important for maintaining cut quality and reducing cut angle. Cut angle, what is that? Cut angle with plasma, you'll always experience some cut angle due to the nature of the plasma arc and how it swirls. And it's usually more prominent on 2 of the 4 sides of a square part. So for example, on this piece of 1 inch here, you can see on the inside here, this profile is pretty well square. But you may notice on this side over here, we have some cut angle. You can see that on this piece of 3/8 plate that we have here. It's mostly square there, not a whole lot of cut angle on that side, but if we flip it over, it becomes very obvious that there's some cut angle. How does that play into things? Well, if you take this part here and you measure on the top side, this is the side that the plasma was cutting on. You'll see that we are about 226. Now, flip that over, measure the other side. Now we're at 230. So how does that play into things? Well, if you had parts that had critical measurements on it that you were trying to fit in between 2 other objects, obviously you'd want to take into account your cut angle to accommodate that stuff. As well with plasma, you will always experience some backside dross. You can reduce it some, to a very good degree actually, with your cut parameters and your cut settings. This is, like I said, is a older Hypertherm PowerMax 85 amp cutter. This one utilizes the older style consumables in which you can replace the individual pieces. The newer style Hypertherms are called a sink, and they run a 1-piece cartridge style consumable where all these pieces are assembled as one and you have to replace the whole unit as one. Some people prefer the older style. I'm kind of partial towards it just because that's what I've had. I've worked around the sink ones and I know that they work very, very well. The problem is if you have a freak accident like a blowout or you crash the torch into something and ruin your consumable cartridges, the sink cartridges are about, I want to say $60 to $70 for a replacement. Whereas these individual pieces, you might have only wrecked the shield or the nozzle. Maybe you blew out an electrode. These are all replaceable. at obviously a fraction of the cost. As well, this table is outfitted with a pneumatic scribe, and these are very handy for marking plates if you had to do bend lines or something. If you had a shop built press brake and you didn't have back gauges on it or anything to reference, or if you did have a nice press brake with back gauges, if you were cutting or bending on an uneven side or something like that, scribing your parts, you can put part numbers, all sorts of stuff. It's a very handy add-on to have. With the PowerMax 85, this machine is rated to pierce up to 3/4 of an inch plate, and you can cut 1.25 inch plate with an edge start, meaning that you would have to obviously start on the very edge and work your way in. It will not pierce it. However, with a little bit of finagling with the settings, I have been actually able to successfully pierce 1-inch plate and cut that with pretty good luck. As far as maintenance goes on a CNC plasma table, the majority of the parts and components that you're going to be maintaining and replacing are going to be your consumables. Other things to take into consideration would be periodically checking the backlash in your rack and pinion drive system, verifying that your tension is set properly on your belt drive as well, and then just general cleaning and upkeep, which I'm a little bit behind on mine. Just making sure that your rails are free of debris and that your bearings are working and not gumming up and sticking. All this will play into the quality of your cut. Feel free to drop a comment and let me know if I missed any key points about plasma tables, and if you have any questions about plasma tables. As well, let me know if you have a plasma table, what are some things that you do and do not like about your setup.